With the judge's deadline fast approaching, Blake Lively's team came down to the wire, releasing their amended complaint at midnight this morning. We've got to discuss. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. About 50 new pages added and 3 big takeaways. She's now added Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc., which is expected. We thought that was going to happen. She's going to have trouble, though, because she originally did it in Texas, and now she's trying to declare it in New York. I see many legal analysis already saying that that's probably not going to work. We'll see. She's also added a lot more about defamation. Now, in hindsight, looking at more that she's gathered, she's assuming everything that's gone wrong is because of Justin's PR team. The big takeaway, though, that all the headlines are approaching is that she is now making it clear there are other women who felt uncomfortable on the set and that they will testify at trial. Now, that would seem damning, but she doesn't really offer any specifics. She doesn't provide any text. She doesn't tell us who these people are. Just says they don't want to get involved right now, given all the toxic virality out there, and that they will testify if necessary and be part of disclosures, etc., coming up, depositions, what have you. We are going to go through this. It's a lot of pages again, and we're going to go through actually about a couple hours, maybe a little less, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll put the link at the end of this. I'll tell you when to click it. Join us live. We're going to read through and go through all of the differences, but I wanted to spotlight some of the major things I noticed. The first thing I noticed is, as I compared it to the last one, a lot of texts were actually removed. This is the new document, as I made a note here, but as you'll notice here, this is the original complaint. As you can see, that first text is still there, but she removed they removed quite a few texts, specifically these right here. I want to show you the one. Sorry, this is the one I'm trying to show you. The majority of socials are pro-Justin, and then they moved on their section. Majority of socials are Justin, but she removed he doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on him how effing lucky. The whispering in the ear, the connotations, the JFC, other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, there's just so much. Now, you'd think these texts would be very important in her new amended complaint, but she's removed them. They're not in this complaint at all now. And part of the reason is probably because Justin revealed the context of these texts, because they did look more nefarious. But the context, if you read the full exchange, shows that Justin's publicists are saying it doesn't even matter if it's not true. And so the context of that exchange shows that they're out there combating lies. And so the fact that Blake removed these texts in the new amended complaint, seemingly not wanting to argue that point, is very telling to me. And it's not the only one. There's another text later on. Here it is on page 44, is comparing. These were all removed as well. That whole exchange. Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece. That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best. Remember the removing emojis, the fact that this is all out of context. Well, they addressed that in a footnote that I found incredibly interesting. Look at this highlighted point. So she's summing up sort of that in this process, that they got this phone illegally from Jones' work. Where did these texts come from? It's been a big question. Saying all that the fact that they got this is false, that they engaged in criminal alteration. It's false. Jones' work produced the communications to Miss Lively in a connection with a lawful subpoena. And the documents included within this complaint are attached in the format in which they were produced subject to the subpoena. Now, she doesn't include the subpoena. We don't know what the subpoena is. That's still the big question, Blake. You haven't provided anything to prove otherwise. But here's what's even more telling. Limited redactions and names and photos, blah, 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 at all times. Miss Lively has understood the produced documents, the text messages that were in her original complaint and are in this one. She has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained. That's how she understood it. They were lawfully obtained, maintained, and produced by Jones' work. So she's pointing it over to the Jones work. If these weren't correct, it's Jones' work's fault, is what she's trying to say. Miss Lively included all excerpts of communication as produced, which on information and belief were produced in the data extractor program's Cellbrite default font and format, including, for example, the absence of text emojis in that production format. Images such as emojis, when available in a preserved screenshot, for example, were attached as produced. So the way I take this is, well, if those texts weren't real or they were edited, it wasn't our fault. They were Jones' work. But girl, they are your fault. That was the whole point of this, why they're suing you, why they've gotten so aggressive. What you're calling retaliation is them defending themselves against your out of context, picked and choose text messages that may have been unlawfully gotten. That's a huge point that she's sort of acknowledging without admitting. Well, if it's there, if it's wrong, it's not my fault, but I'm going to continue to use them. But I removed a couple that maybe, yes, were maybe not used in full context. So I found that incredibly telling. Hidden in a little footnote, her protection that, well, you know, I was told they were lawfully obtained. Yikes. Big yikes. Other yikes. Whew. I want to go through two sections where she attempts to address the taking over of the film, which is very telling. None of the requested protections were tied anyways to Miss Lively's creative input in the film and were made months before discussions regarding the cut of the film. So she's saying at this point, when she was making her demands, her list of 17, which then later ballooned into something else, but they only signed off on 17. At that time and moment, with the completion of the film uncertain, Miss Lively did not request, nor did she receive any creative rights, editing rights, credits, or any other role on the film beyond her roles as an actress and executive producer. Everything she requested laid out in the document was designed to ensure the safety and well-being of the cast and crew. In other words, at the precise moment in time when Miss Lively had maximum leverage prior to resuming production, she did not use that leverage to obtain anything other than protections for herself and others to ensure a safe work environment for all. The notion that she did all this as some sort of Byzantine plot to take control of the movie at some future point, which she did not do in any event, is absurd, and there is not a shred of evidence to support it. Really? 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 Look, I love how she's acknowledging, I could have. This is something Amber Heard did on trial when she was like, I didn't go to TMZ and do all this in life. If I wanted to do that, I could have. And then she went off and explained, which is a total tell. If I wanted to break the law, I wouldn't have done it like that, is always a huge tell. I had this maximum leverage, this maximum effort could have been taken over, which it was. Maximum Effort, her husband's production company, literally took over the marketing, as Justin's proven, which she does not admit in this either. We were following Sony's plan. Yeah, right. It sounds like Blake has Sony hostage and saying, you have my back, right? Right? And now she's using Sony as the justification. They approved everything. And I wish Sony would have a backbone and be like, Blake, enough. We didn't. And maybe that'll come out in trial. But until that has to be forced in trial, we'll see. But this idea that she is pointing out, I had leverage and I didn't use it. I merely set up this whole precedent, you know, so it could help the crew. Yeah, right. As if that also wouldn't establish a control pattern that you then used and made everyone afraid of you so you could get more and more control, from wardrobe to everything else that you demanded to creative writing. Oh, and what about Taylor and your dragons? You're ignoring all of that. You absolutely stole control from this movie, and inch by inch you took more and more. And you've admitted this in interviews. I have to have authorships, and sometimes it's a rug pull for creators. You've admitted this. So now she's trying to downplay it as if it didn't happen. But it gets even worse. It gets even worse. The story Wayfair is told filing her complaint is completely at odds with her behavior trying to produce and market the film. Before Miss Lively sued Mr. Baldoni, Wayfair was perfectly happy to exploit Miss Lively's star power, as well as her access to A-level filmmakers, editors, and more. And notwithstanding their complaints today that Miss Lively supposedly seized control of Mr. Baldoni's film, that did not stop Mr. Baldoni from proudly marketing the film as his work on release. Indeed, although Mr. Baldoni privately confessed that he did not see the final cut of the film until the premiere, he repeatedly and publicly took credit for the film, which Miss Lively generally downplayed her contributions. So what Blake's doing here is, well, why didn't he speak up? Girl, are you serious? You literally would then use that against him as retaliation if he spoke up. He can't win. You're painting him in this corner that there's no way for him to defend himself or ever be right, because anything he does would go against you. But then when he doesn't, oh, well, why not? He didn't do it because he wanted, for the sake of the film, to not get distracted. You took the film by credit. You took him away from the posters. You did all of that. And then you do all that. You then take the edit. You get more and more control of the writing. You use your dragons to beat him down and make sure he gets it. You do all of that. And he's using your star power. He's exploiting Miss Lively's star power. Oh my God. I couldn't even believe it when I read it. The audacity that she's now trying to spin it. Justin and Wayfair were using Blake Lively, guys. I mean, how dare they? Taylor, they were using me. I was just doing everything I could to make the film better, and he didn't have any complaints. Meanwhile, you're holding everything over his head as if he does anything, he's screwed. I mean, this is, it's shocking, but it gets worse. It gets worse. On one incident, they're filming the slow dance. As you recall, you can pause and watch this, read this again. Remember what she said in her original complaint about the dance sequence? Oh my God, wait till you see how she changes it now due to the filming being released. It's unbelievable how she attempts to frame this. And there's a lot of this that I want to break down in full in our next video, because I want to keep this a little shorter so you get the sense. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of accusations, no proof. She's provided no real proof. And when she does lean in and try to fight back against something, which we've all seen with our own eyes, Blake, she tries to play it here, and you can pause and read it yourself. Mr. Baldoni did not provide notice or seek consent for any intimacy in advance. He chose to spontaneously improvise the scene while the cameras were rolling. During the filming, he reportedly leaned in to Miss Lively, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, putting his thumb to her mouth and flicking his lower lip, caressing her, telling her how good she smells. None of this took place while he was in character as Ryle, because both the intimacy and dialogue departed from what had been agreed to in the script, which was slow dancing in their own world, drinking, watching. What she's failing to mention is it's a big part in the book. They don't kiss right away. He's trying to like get it and get her, and it's a moment when they do, because it's the tease, it's the buildup, and he's not kissing her. So it's very clear from the outset what that scene was meant to be. Them locked in the trance, going as far as they could go, and this idea that she couldn't speak out and say, no, I don't like, so, because she did multiple intimacies with scenes with him later. I don't understand why this was so problematic, and I've watched the footage. You're the one who constantly is trying to take control and direct. There's footage of her forcing herself on Justin to make out with him, and I doubt there were intimacy coordinator scenes on the street in those scenes either. This idea that she's trying to spin it when we've seen it. She tried to use levity and creative pleas to deflect the unwanted touching, hoping to get through the scene in any way that maintained a professional boundary without antagonizing Mr. Baldoni. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's insane. That's insane. The fact that Miss Lively varied the number of kisses in other scenes in which the kissing was scripted in advance does not justify Mr. Baldoni's improvisations or attempts to add graphic scenes into the film. She then later goes in and explains. It's ridiculous. The video footage shows Miss Lively trapped. She was trapped, having to appear as though her character was happy and in love while the cameras were rolling. Miss Lively did not want to film additional takes of the scene, but continued to participate, to be a team player and support the production in real time while simultaneously expressing and holding physical. It's insane. It's insane. And then what they go on and do, and that's why it's a long, she even called him a sociopath at one point during the exchange. She tries to play this like a positive. Her attempts at humor and levity, her words, actions, and body language all evince her lack of consent. You're telling me Blake Lively is not someone who can state what she wants as if she wasn't doing that through the whole damn film? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. When she objected to the behavior, his response was, I'm not even attracted to you. Later, through their attorney, Brian Friedman, released the video. They get in this expert from the Hollywood Reporter who wrote an article. Mia Shadher, an independent and experienced intimacy coordinator, watched the video and made comments that he was blah, blah, blah. He was clearly trying to kiss her, and they clearly hadn't discussed ahead of time. How do you know? You weren't there. You weren't there. So now, I called her Amber because it feels like it. Blake is trying to rewrite the history just like AH did. She's literally out there trying to change the facts that we have. Why on earth would you include a Hollywood Reporter expert who wasn't there? This would never hold up in court. You're grasping at straws, just like she did. This is desperate. This is pathetic, and it's hurting real victims. This is what it's about? Because he acted in a scene with you where he snuzzled and kissed your forehead? Are you serious? The same woman who talked about how she likes to ball bust without teeth? Are you nuts? This is crazy. The hypocrisy here is insane. You and Ryan are so gross and explicit, but now in a scene where you're acting, it crossed the line? No, you're changing this all and you're making this, trying to justify it because you can't admit you're wrong, because you don't think you were. Maybe she addresses that later. Anyway, there's so much to unpack. Please join us, because I'm getting bothered. None of this proves anything. I've really tried to look at this objectively, like, all right, let's see what has really made them do this. And as I've gone through the bulk of this, I even went through ChatGPT. I've summed it all up and tried to make sure they had all these things in there to really help us. I've gone through all of it. I'm not seeing anything that makes me remotely change my side or get nervous for Justin's camp. I'm shocked at how desperate it all reads. But let's read it all together. Join us. Make sure if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts so you get notified when we go live. Smash the like when you see us live or when you see any of our videos. Appreciate you guys who've been here. Leave your comments. And then right there on the left, click over there. You can hit remind me. I think it'll say notify me. If we're not live yet, we may be live now or we will be. Click on over there. Join us. Come watch us read through the whole piece. Thanks for watching.